They called it the mountain that kills you on the way down. Not on the way up. Not at the summit. On the way down. When your legs are gone, your oxygen is running out, and the mountain has already decided it is done with you. This is K2. The second highest mountain on Earth. And by almost every measure that matters, the technical difficulty, the weather, the body count per attempt, it is the most dangerous place a human being can choose to stand. K2 sits on the border between Pakistan and China, deep in the Karakoram range. At 8,611 meters, it falls just 237 meters short of Everest. But those 237 meters are almost irrelevant. Because what K2 lacks in height, it more than makes up for in everything else. Where Everest is a long, grueling endurance test, brutal but ultimately manageable for a well-prepared climber with enough time and money, K2 is something different entirely. It is a technical monster. Every route to the summit involves serious rock climbing, near vertical ice faces, and exposed ridgelines where a single misstep means a fall of thousands of meters. There is no easy way up K2. There never has been. The mountain got its name almost by accident. In 1856, a British survey team was mapping the Karakoram range and cataloguing its peaks. Most mountains in the region had local names. But this one, sitting so deep in the range that almost no local population lived near it, had none that the surveyors could find. So they simply gave it a designation. K for Karakoram. 2 for the second peak they recorded. K2. Unlike Everest, which carries the name of a British surveyor, or Annapurna, which means goddess of the harvest in Sanskrit, K2 has no romantic origin story. It is just a label. A number. And somehow that makes it feel even colder. The first serious attempts to climb K2 began in the early 1900s. Teams came from Europe and America, drawn by the challenge of the second highest peak on Earth. And every single one of them was turned back. The mountain defeated them all. It took until 1954 for K2 to finally be summit. An Italian expedition led by Ardito Digio put 2 climbers, Lino Lacedelli and Achille Companoni, on the summit on July 31st of that year. It was 4 years after Annapurna had been first climbed and just 1 year after Everest fell to Hillary and Tenzing. But the story of that first ascent was not clean. It was not a moment of pure triumph. There were accusations, controversies, and a third climber, Walter Bonatti, who many believed had been deliberately left behind near the summit and later fought for decades to have his contribution to the climb officially recognized. Even the first ascent of K2 came wrapped in darkness. So what makes K2 so deadly? The first thing is the shape of the mountain itself. K2 is often described as a near-perfect pyramid. Its slopes are steep on every side, which means there is almost no natural shelter anywhere on the mountain. Wind hits it from every direction. Snow and ice accumulate on angles that make avalanches almost inevitable. And the routes to the summit, no matter which side you approach from, all converge on the same narrow upper section of the mountain, a bottleneck that forces climbers into the most exposed and dangerous terrain right when they are most exhausted. The second thing is the bottleneck. If K2 has a single feature that defines its lethality, it is a section of the route known simply as the bottleneck. It is a narrow couloir, a steep gully of ice and snow, sitting at around 8,200 meters, just below the summit. To reach the top, every climber must pass through it. Above the bottleneck hangs a massive serac, a block of glacial ice the size of several city buildings. It is unstable. It has been unstable for as long as climbers have been attempting K2. Everyone who passes underneath it knows that it could collapse at any moment without warning. And it has. In August 2008, the serac partially collapsed while a group of climbers were descending through the bottleneck. The resulting ice fall and avalanche killed 11 people in a single day, the deadliest single event in K2's history. Experienced climbers, seasoned high-altitude mountaineers, people who had spent years preparing for this exact moment. Gone in seconds. The third thing is the weather. K2's position deep in the Karakoram means it is exposed to weather systems that build fast and hit hard. Storms roll in with almost no warning. And unlike in Nepal, where weather forecasting has improved significantly over the years, the remote location of K2 makes accurate prediction extremely difficult even today. The climbing window on K2 is short, typically a few weeks in July and August. Outside of that window, the mountain is essentially unclimbable. But even within those weeks, stable weather is never guaranteed. Expeditions have sat in base camp for weeks waiting for a window that never opened. Others have started their summit push in clear skies only to be caught by a storm at 8,000 meters with nowhere to go. And then there is the winter. For decades, K2 in winter was considered simply impossible. Every attempt ended in failure. The cold at that altitude in December and January is so extreme that exposed skin freezes in seconds. Wind speeds regularly exceed 200 km per hour. The human body simply cannot function in those conditions for long enough to reach the summit and return. Team after team tried. Team after team failed. Until January 16, 2021. On that day, a team of 10 Nepalese climbers, including Nimol Purja, one of the most remarkable high-altitude mountaineers alive, reached the summit of K2 in winter for the first time in history. They did it together, deliberately staying as a team rather than racing individually for the top. And just below the summit, they stopped and sang the Nepalese national anthem. It was one of the greatest achievements in the history of mountaineering. And even that moment, that triumph, came with the knowledge that they were standing in a place the mountain had successfully defended against every human attempt for over a century. The death toll on K2 tells the story clearly. Of the 14 8,000ers, K2 has one of the lowest summit counts relative to the number of attempts. Its fatality rate sits at around 23%, lower than Annapurna's historic high but still catastrophically above every other major peak except Annapurna. For every 4 people who reach the summit of K2, roughly 1 dies. And the mountain collects those deaths in the most brutal ways. Falls from the upper ridges. Avalanches through the bottleneck. Storms that pin climbers at altitude until their bodies give out. Frostbite so severe that climbers descend missing fingers, toes, and worse. K2 does not let you go easily. The mountaineering community has a saying about K2 that has been repeated so many times it has become almost a cliché. But clichés exist because they are true. Everest is a high-altitude trek with serious risks. K2 is a climb. The distinction matters. On Everest, with enough money, enough support, and enough time, almost anyone in reasonable physical condition can reach the summit. The commercial expedition industry has made it possible for people with limited technical climbing experience to stand on the highest point on Earth. K2 does not work that way. The technical demands of the mountain filter out everyone who is not a genuinely elite climber. The routes require real skill, not just fitness, not just determination, but actual technical mountaineering ability at the highest level. And even then, it is often not enough. The names of those who have died on K2 read like a who's who of mountaineering greatness. Dudley Wolfe, one of the first serious American high-altitude climbers, vanished on K2 in 1939. 3 Sherpas who went to look for him were never seen again either. Art Gilkey, an American geologist on a 1953 expedition, fell critically ill at high altitude. His teammates attempted a desperate rescue in brutal conditions. In the chaos, most of the team fell and were only saved by a miraculous arrest on the rope. Gilkey himself disappeared, swept away by an avalanche before they could get him down. Alison Hargreaves, one of the greatest female mountaineers in history, reached the summit of K2 in August 1995 without supplemental oxygen. On the descent, a catastrophic storm hit. She was never seen again. She was 33 years old. And yet, like Annapurna, K2 keeps calling people back. There is something about a mountain that cannot be easily conquered that draws the best climbers in the world toward it. Not despite the danger, but in some complicated, hard-to-explain way, because of it. Because standing on top of K2 means something that standing on top of a safer, easier mountain simply does not. It means you went to the place where the odds were against you and you came back. Not everyone does. The mountain makes sure of that. 8,611 meters. The second highest point on Earth. The first 8,000er to be summited in winter, as recently as 2021. A death rate that has held at around 1 in 4 for as long as records have been kept. K2 is not the tallest mountain in the world. But it may be the most honest one. It does not pretend to be climbable. It does not offer easy routes or gentle slopes. It shows you exactly what it is from the moment you see it, a perfect, brutal pyramid of rock and ice rising out of one of the most remote places on Earth. And if you still want to go up, it will let you try. Whether it lets you come back down is a different question entirely.